Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, the 16th of January, 2023, and I have notes, but again, no scripts because I like to wing my videos, just because it makes it a little bit more interesting. So, notes I've taken in the last couple of days. Um, I don't know if people are tracking the CIA, FBI, DOJ, DOD, so many different government organizations within North America, Canada included, have been actively caught now with files released, emails released, phone logs released, uh, actively censoring people throughout the entire pandemic, and then stuff regarding the Russia-Ukraine war as well as Afghanistan pullout, me included, which is why I'm talking about this stuff because they're saying now that even Elon Musk with his memes saying that people that were being accused of being conspiracy theorists for the last few years, like it's coming to his attention now that they were not conspiracy theorists, but actually people that were telling the truth and sharing obviously proof to back up what we were alleging and stuff like that as well. And again, me included, because a few YouTube accounts deleted, a couple of LinkedIn accounts deleted, so many strikes on various different platforms. Even on Instagram, I'm still shadow banned. I still have like over 12,000 followers, and I have less than 30 views on my stories, groundbreaking freaking stories. So again, like I don't just post videos. I also post a lot of stuff that I don't even mention in my videos on all my other social media platforms, just to make it interesting, right? Like it doesn't, like it's kind of boring, right? If you're getting like the same information and content from someone, and then you like go to their different platforms and it's all the same stuff, right? When there's different ways you can get people's attention, right? Like I share shorter videos. I'm able to share like the proof and the stuff that I mentioned here. So not only do you get it in my description box and the comment section below, but anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, so CIA heavily involved in that. Again, proved that they were also involved in the JFK assassination. I mentioned this several times over the last several years, but again, my videos, a lot of them I still haven't uploaded on Rumble yet for the last few years. That from my YouTube videos that I saved because of my accounts getting deleted. And so it would be really great if people would like my videos, subscribe, go on my other social media platforms, and then share my information. Only if you want to, and if you think that you can benefit from it. But this is stuff that I'm doing as a service, and also well, I mean, this is like bigger than me, and a lot of the stuff that I'm sharing again is because like I feel like I have no choice, right? People are still suffering. There's still so much of the narrative and the scripts that these elitists are trying to play out. And I've made whiteboards. I've been saying this too, but like for years. And there's stuff that has already come true, and then stuff too, like the bigger stuff that's possibly coming like in the next year. But I'll get into that. But I just want to make sure that I get into my notes properly more, at least this time. So yeah, CIA also been involved in MK Ultra. So there are people throughout North America and Canada included where there have been psychological and physical manipulations being done to people even without their consent, and in order to create people that they can do whatever they want with, essentially. And there's been stuff in courts that I've shared. I've showed presidents even actively even admitting this stuff, and experts and scientists and doctors and things like that that shared this information, right? Like there have been already lawsuits and court hearings and things like that. And again, like not even a touch of the information was released that or made public that has happened. And if you look at the Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell cases as well, you'll see like how censored it was, right? Like we weren't seeing that being live broadcast. And then what do we get a few months later in order to distract us once the hearing was complete? We get Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, like again, like these minions that are part of these elitist groups that are showing the clear symbology, like with the bees that they were wearing, both of them, and she was wearing what he was wearing, like the previous day, like the following day, and even like lying under oath, and so many people do this, right? Or they swear on their own Bibles, like even Chrystia Freeland, like it's a farce, and they're heavily involved in Hollywood as well. And there's a lot of people that have said too that um, they've used mainstream media like Paramount Pictures, Motion Pictures, like Disney, Netflix, cartoons, songs, you name it, in order to brainwash people and manipulate people like it's some kind of an experiment. whatever it is, what it is, and each country has its own narrative and script and cultures and the divisions, with like the left and right, media and left and right politics and then like different languages, it's all a game. Mockingbird, yeah, like so that was like look up like the Mockingbird fake stories, interviews that were even in like mainstream news articles like Time Magazine and Washington Post level, and they're still doing this, right? This Mockingbird stuff, like again, where government people or people that are experts, they're calling them doctors and scientists and stuff like that. They're actually, it's not true, right? It's misleading information. And so these people now, my point to the people that are in government right now, these cabinet ministers and our leaders that are actually going to WEF, like Chrystia Freeland, and I give them the list of people from Canada going on, I shared it on Twitter and my Instagram, so take a look at the sellouts to Canada, the people that are actually listening to the psychopath Klaus Schwab and his minions, and trying to, again, exploit our resources, like cripple us internally, like spiritually, physically, and emotionally on so many different levels, and we're seeing it so much, within Canada now that now they're talking about cyber attacks and saying that it's going to come from Russia. Again, it's not going to be coming from Russia. This is going to be stuff like planned and staged, just like freaking, honestly, Pearl Harbor, just like 9/11. And there's so much more proof that has come out now too, with just like the various areas within the building structures that were detonated simultaneously, and then people tipped off, and that were supposed to be at work, like of certain groups that were not at work during that period, and that there was training events that were happening exactly in that area during that time, and it was confusing to people when they were trying to report the actual news, when there was actually fake news reporters and stuff that I understand and know and familiar with, because it's stuff that I've trained people to do for like multiple levels of government, like the higher levels for hostile environment awareness training or standing rapid deployment team courses, because you should train as you work or fight or whatever you want to call it. Sorry, my dog's by me. And so, like, not to mislead people or dupe people, I would hire role players and have like teams and stuff like that that would facilitate people under the guidance of a facilitator, like someone anyway, like really like experts in their fields, to train various levels of government for when they deploy to other countries, and just all the different complications that may or may not arise, and things that they could do to mitigate any kind of delays in assistance, or getting no assistance at all, and are getting duped because of corruption in places and stuff that I've trained for, and also have experienced, but then also have taught. Anyway, yeah, so don't believe these. Even Yuri Bezmenov, who was a Russian defector, who was a KGB and stuff like that like operated in India and various other areas. He defected, went to the U.S. and ultimately started creating his own radio show, had a new name and knew everything. And then they still found him after a few years because of the the voice over the radio, the frequencies or whatever you want to call it. There were Russian operatives even in the 70s and 80s that were able to identify people in various countries based on voice recognition and stuff like that. And it's been more advanced than this, even like for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and people do have this advanced capability and technology. And so, oh yeah, we're talking about UFOs and all this other stuff that's coming out more and more, and leaked documents and unclassified documents now, and all this stuff about advanced aliens and UFOs, and these are things that are within this dome, within this firmament. We have not gone beyond the Van Allen belt, or whatever you want to call it. And I've shown plenty of proof of this stuff as well, and I highly encourage people to look at Alex Gleason and Ptolemy's structures and design of the cosmos, whatever you want to call it, this plane, and so many other like more advanced civilizations like the Incas and Phoenicians. And I've shared the books, and check out David Weiss and so many other people, Ken Wheeler, like the list goes on of people that are debunking this globe Earth narrative that has been slowly integrated into society, and continuously reinforced daily, right, with what we're seeing on TV, but also with like Global Affairs Canada, or like the global initiatives, the global war on terror, like all this stuff. Like we're like, people are intentionally using these terms in order to keep us stuck and visualizing, or unable to visualize a world other than like what we're being shown on TV and in books. And again, I'll reiterate that what we're seeing is CGI, and Tom Pettit and so many other people have admitted it too. Like the people that create these overlays and these CGI manipulated images, they keep telling us, right? And there is more land in the like on the exterior of this like interior area that we're being shown, and so many people have proven this in their travels and accounts and journals and heavily censored. And I can understand it because even I am heavily censored. So like anyway, yeah, television. So it's like all like a spell casting stuff, channels, like channeling like spirits or demons or evil or good or whatever you want to call it. And there's programming, it's like programming us, and people are watching more and more TV and getting more and more hooked on social media and video games, and the metaverse and this stuff is not the answer, and we need to get out and experience life in these avatars and these physical vessels and access our higher levels of consciousness and our internal kingdom and access God the Creator through our like how we live our lives and how we integrate Him into our bodies and how we understand the world, right? Like the more people have like the truth, the more able we are to transcend this multidimensional realm or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So when I talk about like Satanists or Luciferians or Rosicrucianists or the Illuminati or the Freemasons or Catholicism or various cultures or religions and stuff like that, when I talk about snakes or Satan or Satanists, for example, like I'm not saying that these are evil groups, but I'm definitely saying that there's evil people within all different groups within society, and it takes people to take a stand for this stuff now finally, and stop allowing this like perverse narrative to keep on going on, and even like my example, and I hate even talking about this stuff because it grosses me out, but Dan Schneider, if you're not aware of him, then you should be, and this is what I mean, like we're so heavily censored, but he is the one that like created Nickelodeon and like the big foot, okay, and I'll get into that too. He has a foot fetish, okay, and it's well known throughout so many different circles and stuff that has been like made public, and I'll post a link to it. Like there's a girl, Shelby Elamack, amazing videos that show him in interviews and on the record, and then even like the women he victimized, children he victimized, even them like just showing clips of this stuff being shown on television, and like not for kids, right? It was for men, right? And people in his circle, and even like the FBI, they leaked like the different symbols and logos that different pedophile groups have used, and names like ice cream and pizza and hot dog and stuff like that, and what they mean, and how if you look back on these Nickelodeon shows and Disney shows and all these other stuff, like all these other things, you'll see so much perversion and how it's not made for kids, and like why would they even put this in here, you know what I mean, in these freaking like shows for kids, right? And like I'll give examples even though it's disgusting because she was a child at the time, but like even with Ariana Grande and the other people that were in like these like those shows, I've never watched them, and thankfully so, right? Because like this was part of the grooming. Like I did watch a lot of Disney movies, and I knew all about like the like even in The Little Mermaid, when the priest that was marrying them, or what do you want to call it, like he was fully erect when they were getting married on the boat, and the Little Mermaid, like she wasn't 18 at the time, and it is what it is, and there was like a lot more sexual innuendos in that movie. But if people just do a simple search on any browsers on Google or DuckDuckGo or Brave, or get on a Proton Plus account and connect off of a different IP address, but you'll see that there's like there's hidden messages within all these movies, and people are trying to say, oh, it's just funny, it's just for the adults. No, why is it in there, right? And then with this child, like she's holding like these like phallic objects and like talking about potatoes and talking about like trying to get like whatever, like you can't milk a or whatever you want to call it, a potato. And she's like doing stuff with her face as she's like jerking off a freaking potato, and then these other freaking toys that she's like playing with and stroking like the end of and stuff like that, or like where she's like up like over a bed and like talking about can a teenage girl drink water upside down? Let's try it. And then she's like upside down over her bed with like a bottle of water, and it's not going anywhere near her freaking mouth, but like all over her like chest area and face and stuff like that, and she's laughing about it. And then, anyways, Dan Schneider with his foot fetish, like he would have, like there's even accounts of him, and it's on the record. I'll share the freaking link, even though it's disgusting. Oh, you don't like it's online, right? And so like anyone can watch it. Like your kids have probably watched this stuff, and so it's already out there, and so it makes me uncomfortable to share it because it's I find it disgusting, and I can't believe it's still like out there. And even with Ashley and Mary Kate, like just completely like so many different people like on the record admitting the fact that they were sexualized and and victimized by certain members of the Full House cast. And then you even see like with the red bridge symbolism and stuff like that, and like the pizza symbolism and like some of their pizza parties and like the weird photos they would take, and Jesse always kissing them on the lips, and like he's not like family at all, right? He's just like a friend that lives with them. Like why is he kissing them on the lips? And then like that was becoming a thing for a while too, with people trying to like kiss their kids on the lips, and we'd like and then like that got stopped and stuff like that, and then like but again, like it's just it's part of the narrative, and like you don't like, unless you understand where it's coming from, like you can't blame people for doing things when they think it's coming from like when they think this is not disgusting or whatever you want to call it, or part of like a gross pedo ring. You think that it's like pure and loving and stuff like that, and just sheer like good family entertainment, and it's not. It's just I don't know. It's weird, and I feel bad for them. And and then even before they were 18 years old, like as children, like there was like a countdown of them like when they would be legal. It's so gross, right? And like even having to get lawyers involved in. And as children, I could just like can only imagine how traumatizing like it would be, like just being in the media as much as they were. Because even with me with Discovery Channel and stuff like that, like even within my career when I was when I was working in large groups, but unwanted attention and stuff like that from like people where I have had to get unfortunately like law enforcement involved and stuff like that as well. So and it can be very scary, like even for adults. And so I can only imagine being like a child going through this stuff, like a lot of these child actors did, right? And so they have to watch this stuff and be re-victimized or completely dissociate from it on a regular basis in order to like not again like be triggered and stuff like that. And it's so unfortunate. I feel so bad. And so like Ariana Grande, they would always talk about like how Dan Schneider like never wanted his actors' children to have their hair up. It was always down, and there was only like a rare exception or whatever that that he allowed it. And it was like a gardening scene and stuff like that. So again, like, and then he would only hire people that like they want to like, get his attention by wearing like almost like next to nothing. Like he would have these auditions or whatever you want to call it, where they would be like walking in sand barefoot and stuff like that. Why are you doing that? And why are these beach parties? And why are kids that are 12 and 13 on your lap and you like touching their chests and stuff like that? Even like decades ago, and how is this stuff happening, right? Like even with Disney and Honey Boo Boo and stuff like that, like just like all these children being like so like hypersexualized and pushed into these adult roles at such a young age, right? And we're not realizing that their brains are still malleable and still developing. And someone that's I've done courses, like science courses on like child development, child psychology development, brain development, like in children and in adults, and like advanced psychology stuff. And it's like it's absolutely impactful and in my humble opinion abusive and exploitative and stuff that needs to be stopped. And I have so many other examples of just how gross and disgusting this stuff is. And then you see these pictures again of like auditions or these parties that they would have, and it's old gross men and these young children, little boys and little girls, right? Or like up to the ages of like 16 or what do you want to call it? And it's just it's like why? And you think these like really famous celebrities right now, like that are in like what's her name? Is it Naomi Campbell? No. Maybe it's her. The one that's always fighting. There's pictures of her. Yes, it's Naomi Campbell, like that like old model. She but that has has an island made for her that we like with the Eye of Horus and anyway, just bastardizing such a beautiful spiritual occult religion or what do you want to call it with her grossness, but like she like there's so many pictures of her like in circles with Ghislaine Maxwell, like they're with their chummy like arms around each other, like side by side sitting with each other, and even with like Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith and these other people, and these pedophiles, and on flight logs and things like that too, and look at Chrissy Teigen and John Legend and like the 60,000 tweets that she had to freaking remove from her social media, her Twitter, because of all the disgusting things that she was saying about children, about like even toddlers and tiaras, how like she was talking about like she needed to take a shower, or she was getting wet watching little children perform, like all this disgusting stuff, and people are like, what on earth are you talking about, lady? Why are you saying these things? So like even if you were part of like this unfortunate group of people that were victimized when you were a child, like I'm sorry that happened to you, but like you are a grown ass woman and you need to stop doing this, and you have children, and you may or may not have even sacrificed your own child, by the way, with like the pink and black photo that you had, and then lying and saying you had a miscarriage when it was an abortion. And you know, as someone that's wanted children for like over like and pushed for this for like over a decade, like how like it just gets so frustrating, right? I just get so overwhelmed with like, and everyone just eats it up. And oh my god, I can go on so many rants, but like Dan Schneider and so many people like Marty Weiss and Justin Andy and so many other people like within his group, his friends, that have been charged with assaulting and victimizing children, and then still being hired, by the way, afterwards for like the Magic Mirror, whatever you want to call it, and in Zach and Cody, whatever you want to call it, that show, and Brian Peck, like how, and not being able to be around children legally, so being the Magic Mirror and just being like behind the scenes and guaranteed on his personal time doing his own gross stuff. Why is this stuff still happening? Oh, and by the way, which is why Ariana Grande, some people think, always has like her hair up tight in an elastic, is because she always had to have her hair down, and that was like a way of like sexualizing her. And because of this group or whatever you want to call it that Dan Schneider was in, they'd like to have kids, these kids with like their hair down. And that's her way of rebelling or dissociating from horrible experiences. And I feel really, really bad about this stuff, right? And why? Yeah, so even with Jamie Lynn Spears, Dan Schneider might possibly be the father of her child, allegedly. And I'll reiterate, because this is something I got from Shelby Elamax, so I'm going to post the video. I highly recommend people like subscribe to her. I highly recommend people like look at her videos. She's amazing, and she has like really, really good content. But she does this like a lot more justice than I do with like with the breakdown and the explanation of this. And it's not to shame anyone, or there's a child involved in this, but this is to show you that like these groups, these disgusting men that are part of like these like huge businesses, they are actively harming people, and it's in plain sight. And it's getting worse and worse because we're not doing anything about it. Like, we're not doing enough about it. And people are saying that I'm trying too hard, or whatever you want to call that. With my social media stuff. I'm not a professional. I'm not trained as a journalist or anything like that, or in like acting or any of this stuff. Nor do I have scripts. Nor do I have people helping me with this stuff. And I'm just getting this information out because it's so freaking important. And maybe if people tried harder, you know, in Canada, people like me wouldn't have to be on this stuff all the time and just try to like keep on getting out there. But anyway, oh yeah, like even like sticking like that, like a finger down kids' throats, like just to show they don't have gag reflexes. And oh my god, it's just racists and pedophiles are literally like running Hollywood and our main and our media, our news, our everything. And so why do you want to listen to this stuff? Like, why are we watching this stuff? Like, why are we supporting them? We shouldn't be. Yeah, like even like when they were the Olsen twins, when they were on the Ellen show, Shelby Elmack, she shows this as well. So this is you can get like a better summary of this, but they were asking, like Ellen was asking the twins about like their earliest memories, and then they said the earliest memories was being in a shower with Dave, and then she's like, no, like on scene. And so even Ellen, even on the record, live TV, was like knew to say like knew there was stuff going on, right? And like knew, like automatically was like, oh no, no, not your real stuff, like not your personal stuff, like actually like the your earliest memories um of the on the show. Sorry, that's what it was. Like, what were your earliest memories on the show? And then they were talking about being in the shower with Dave, and she said, no, 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 I mean like on the anyway. It's just so disgusting that she's clearly part of this stuff too, right? And so if you look at the people that have passed away even in the last year, like Anne Hesh and Twitch, like I don't know, there's well, I've already shared. There's more to it, and it's people that were trying to like share information out there about these rings that people are involved in and get it out there, and then just being like that's the way that they were being shut up, and a lot of hidden symbology too, and stuff in plain sight that I've shown too about her trying to get out, and how even like the guy that she was with was trying to flee for his life, and then even like the sacrificial number on top of the paramedic vehicle and the ambulance. Anyway, and crazy. Yeah, and Britney Spears even saying like when asked like what's the keys to happiness, and her saying things like no memories. This is all crazy stuff, but where was I going with this? I was going to talk about like we talk about emotions, and people are saying that like women are more emotional than men, and how like we're only seeing like emotions as being like sadness and happiness or joy or whatever you call it, and we're not seeing that the obvious thing that like anger is an emotion, and men are becoming very emotional, and women too, and because again anger is an emotion, and so both genders, both sexes, I'm gonna get trolled for that too, saying that there's, by the way, there's not 87 genders. Okay, so also more stuff that confuses us, like takes us more out of the wanting to be part of like the collective, and more individualistic, and it doesn't work. It causes just more suffering for, again, not only you but for others. Gerald Ford predictions. I've talked about this in earlier videos, but I'll just reiterate that he predicted that like the next female president was going to be in place because of being the vice president and something happening to the president, and then ultimately making it where she becomes the president. I don't know for how long or whatever, but then there was like the Woodrow Wilson or the presidential connection with Kamala Harris, and I forget what president it was. Oh, I gotta look at my older videos. And there's just so much information I get on a regular basis that when I'm done with stuff, I have to dump a lot of information out of my brain to just keep up to date, right? Because our brains can't store like so much information. But anyway, there was a president that had died on Kamala Harris's birthday, and she was born in '58. And so the prediction would be that something's going to happen within this presidency, and she may or may not be like the next, and or like the next president, and then the first female. But I really hope not, because she's terrible. Terrible! Chrystia Freeland, who's on her way to WEF or whatever you want to call it, or, like, may already be there, might already be over. I don't know. I haven't been tracking it too much. But sell out to Canada. I mean, I am tracking like what's going on in WEF and stuff like that. I just shared again what Klaus Schwab just said. Again, like as part of WEF, and his global, takeover plan. Insane. Oh my goodness, he needs to find God. Yeah, London Bridge. Like I talk about, like even like nursery rhymes and stuff like that, where there's hidden symbology in it. But even with like London Bridge, there's a lot of older structures that were apparently made using like the blood of people, and possibly more specifically the blood of children. And so there's again more grossness with like these songs these nursery rhymes and songs that we learned and memorized and sang to our kids and or listened to when we were kids, that like the people that wrote them, like there was like a more sinister story behind it, right? And even with Jack and Jill and Snow White and the Seven Dwarves and stuff like that as well, and dwarves were possibly giants, and it possibly like symbolic of the seven chakras and things like that. It's anyway. I wanted to. Oh yeah, and even with 9/11 too, like the passport that was found, like it just happened to have been like the guy that did that, like that flew the plane, and like that somehow like paper passport out of all the freaking passports and like all the people that were in the building, and then with like on the plane, that's the only thing that survived was the passport of the alleged person that was involved and did this. Come on, like there, and I did an interview on Andreas Zertis's channel a few months ago now, and he was able to pull up like the proof, and like even like engineering, like papers that were done that showed that 9/11 was a planned detonation, and things like that, and so many other things that in that video, and Buzz Aldrin like admitting on the record to never going to the moon, like that was on that video as well. So this is why like I'm not redundant with this stuff, because you can look at the references that I cite. There's a lot of them, but you're gonna have to go through them in order to unpack, like, again, like not only being born into lies, but like your family being born into lies for hundreds of, if not thousands of years. That like this messaging has been going on, and now they're trying to plant the seeds for like an alien invasion, which is going to be like people within this dome, within this flat Earth plane, that are going to be going against people and using advanced technologies in order to go against people too, possibly. And it's easy to sell it as an alien invasion with like, like advanced technology, like if we haven't seen this type of person before, humanoid before, or aircrafts or sea crafts or land crafts before, which I believe are going to be coming mostly out of the water. Because I do believe that we have had more advanced technologies. Well, I don't believe, I know we have, because it's like all over the world. I've been all over the world. I've seen these structures. There's still some that are in existence now that haven't been blown up or destroyed or covered over or flooded, and but are also underwater now that we just don't have access to, because we're not focusing on the right things within like the money that we're giving to NASA and all this stuff, like to go to space and go to Mars and go to the moon and stuff like that. No, we should be going to the ocean and going in caves and going underground and stuff like that, and preparing for like these cyclical events where like the sun and moon, like they shift their energies and their temperatures and their colors and stuff like that, and impact the earth in various different ways, and even our oxygen levels and stuff like that are impacted, and like the moon like turns more like orange at times and white at times, and so does the sun. And when the sun gets more bluer, then that's when it's hotter, right? So even if you look at temperatures, you look at like red versus blue is actually the most hot, and like white is hotter than orange is hotter than red. Anyway, it just goes on from there. And so all interesting stuff. I've talked about the heavens and being water, possibly, in so many different books that discuss this, that there's water above and below, and that they're being divided by the firmament. And even within us, we've got cerebral spinal fluids, and we are heavily like magnetic electrical beings that I believe are, again, impacted by our central nervous system. And I believe now like there's a connection within our brain with the thalamus, the pituitary gland, and pineal gland, like within that chamber, that when that trinity is formed, and the CSF is utilized in a proper way in the seed, that like the protein that's supposed to run up our spine, in the hollow canals of our spine, once it connects to our third eye, like this is where we access the kingdom of heaven. And it's said in a lot of religious books too, that like the kingdom of heaven is inside of us, right? And the only way to salvation, true salvation, is from within. And that's why I also say that like any type of salvation or saving that's going to happen, again, it's going to have to be through us and meditation. And this is something that also, like through the silence, through the void, and through like no thought, and being on the right hand side of God, is the way to transcend and get out of this repeated cycle. And the more we abide by various rules, like the 10 Commandments, for example, the more like that's the way, like I guess that's the way to life. That's the trick to life. And on the right hand side of our brain too, it's interesting where we have the corpus callosum, or this chamber, or whatever you want to call it, where we can access the Christ oil. And this is also where apparently like the seed, or whatever you want to call it, like accesses the like this area, and then connects everything together within the brain. Again, I don't know, like these are all, there's a lot of stuff I still have to like research and unpack, but I'm trying to connect like the cosmos together, right? And I'm definitely closer than 99.99999% of the at least the people that I have been around and talked to, and being the fact that I've been around the world, and I have led a very adventurous life. Like I've met a lot of people. I find this information important to share, because like there's a connection with the anatomy, and with astronomy, and with religion, and with the sciences, right? It's all connected. And the more we can connect within our own bodies, and then access the luminaries in a proper way in order to provide us with proper healing and things like that as well, like the more we're going to be living in harmony with the world, and living a more virtuous, truer life path, and then living out or fulfilling our life roles, or whatever you want to call it, in this video game better. And yeah, so like even the sun and the moon are like, they have healing energies, and the moon does give off more colder temperatures, and this has been proven as well. So also with the moon being closer to us now in the sky, like I also wonder how that impacts our temperatures and our winters and things like that. Is it because of the sun being further away, or is it because of the being reflected further away, or is it because of the moon being reflected closer and not causing more of these certain conditions in certain areas as well? And so I think we need to look more into, like, we used to have moon towers and ways of accessing energy better and making it flow better, and there's now talk about lasers being able to like push through the atmosphere and create like a tunnel or like a cylinder, or whatever you want to call it, and where there's like there's less resistance or friction within the within that environment or within that space, so that different sounds or waves or anything could be lasers, obviously, like light waves could be could travel faster. So all interesting stuff as well. And also terrifying that we're playing with this stuff. But I've also been looking at more videos that are now unfortunately down, about magnetism and about magnetrons, and about how even like crop circles have showed different designs of what could have been like free energy structural blueprints or designs that people started to like take a look at and try to duplicate in experiments and stuff like that, and seeing that there's a lot of different structures within the world, old and new, that large and small, that we need to start harnessing again and utilizing, and stop blasting and damaging and covering up these things, and then just start trying to like again like reuse them or rebuild. Because yeah, like even with us, like we're able to like go underwater and not breathe underwater unless we have like scuba gear or snorkeling equipment. But there are people that can stay for fairly long periods of time underwater, and they practice this, and then obviously can live in this environment that we're living in. But fish cannot hold their breath or anything like that, just because of how they are. And so like they don't have like the same luxuries or the same abilities yet to transverse, or whatever you call it, their plane of existence and get on this plane, right? So like they might not even understand water or air or because they don't know anything else. And so for us as well, like we're in this environment, but I do believe that there's waters above us as well that have been separated, because it's in so many different books and accounts. And just what I see on the earth as well, it just makes sense to me as well, because I see that there's water above and below. And yeah, there was a crash in Nepal, and obviously very upsetting, and a lot of people, I believe it was 72 people died in that. I don't like looking at negative news as much, even though I have no choice but to. I try to take breaks from it. There was no Canadians. That was confirmed by Global Affairs, and anyway. But sometimes I really need to take breaks from this stuff because it gets really, really negative. But I need to like get this information out in order to try to mitigate stuff from happening in Canada, which they're clearly saying is going to happen here, right? And it keeps on happening, even with the pandemic, and then again with the tabletop pandemic training like event that happened just the end of October of just past the last couple of months, and talking about like an even more lethal variant. And then we have an isolated variants. Pat King from Edmonton, Alberta, like took the government to court, and they had to drop it obviously, and because they were not able to prove that they were able to isolate any variants. And so like look into germ theory and look at like how they're cycling the PCR tests or the tests and to even confirm or verify you're sick or not. And again, you should be highly suspicious of people being confirmed with a virus that are asymptomatic. And look into it more, right? And the back and forth with WHO and UN saying that asymptomatic spread being rare or impossible, and then going from that to asymptomatic are the biggest spreaders, and then all of these things, like it's all over the place. But like common sense should prevail and look at natural immunity versus vaccine-induced immunity, like especially over the long term and short term, and the fact that like the timing of like the jabs just make no sense. And I can go on a list too with stuff that we should have learned from methylquin, from polio, from the flu, and so many other things, and they're getting investigated, and so I'm talking more about this. And so people in various states are investigating all different types of therapeutics that are being put onto kids, forced inoculations, even as children. People are looking into SIDS that set an infant death now more, and seeing the correlations with therapeutics. I've been pushing this for years, and saying this for years now on the record, and then to our politicians and stuff like that, as well as fertility clinics here. And anyway, so I think, oh my God, oh yeah, so taking breaks from this stuff because it gets super negative, but like people need to start paying attention to this stuff. There's so much information that is out there now that should be putting people behind bars in Canada with the conflict of interest and the lies, even under oath, and the staged and planned like riots, like utilizing and funding convoys and other ways of protests, like people within government, in order to again distract us, divide us, and dupe us, and knowing that these groups, are it doesn't work, right? And it's a way to keep on dividing people, and the narrative of trying to paint unvaccinated people as villains or terrorists or white supremacists and stuff like that. This was all like proven to be so completely like incorrect and the opposite. And it was showing that a lot of unvaccinated people, if you want to look at the percentages, were people that were experts that were like pushing like so much data because of the trials that they were looking at, knowing that the mRNA therapeutics were out for like over a decade, and like the trials were not good, and then looking at so many different like epidemics and pandemics throughout the world, and just seeing like the main like coincidences or the similar repeating patterns and trends with who would go and how many people, and like how like small like little like cases would turn into like big, like would be like sensationalized on the media, and then turned into like a push to get people inoculated. And as soon as they would get inoculated, then there was a huge spread of stuff like, come on baby, and then economic ruin, and then fertility issues, and oh my God, it's just blows my mind, guys. The good guys are not in charge right now. I know we want to think that they are and we want to believe it, but they're not, okay? And so, until further notice, I don't know what else to do. I highly encourage people to reach out to their mayors, their city councilors, their elected officials, email cabinet, write letters, and ask people to step down, and or like I'm asking like anyone that's in government that's watching this, reach out to me, Dawn189 at protonmail.com. Sorry, Dawn189 at protonmail.com. I'll give you all the proof that I'm talking about and that I'm sharing and stuff like that. If you need to have information or proof to show just how corrupt our elected officials are, and just if you need the proof that I'm showing about flat simulation Earth, or about like all the lies regarding like Russia and Ukraine and how they're trying to create another war because it profits these elitists, and this is a distraction for bigger things that are coming, and it's like there's going to be a lot of people within Canada, but all over the world that are going to be used, and yeah, so just reach out and start hiring me for contracts again. Even though I'm not vaccinated, I'm healthy, I'm young-ish, and yeah, it shouldn't be about that. And it's no one's business, like people's like that stuff anyways right now. And so I'm seeing more and more people pushing back, and when people are asking if they're jabbed or not, they're saying it's none of your business. And people are saying, oh, well, it's because they probably are, and now they're embarrassed to admit it. And I'm like, what? Who cares? And they shouldn't be embarrassed to do things when again there was such a push on this for years that the narrative that they were doing it like for others, right? So that people like women and children and the elderly would survive, right? The agenda was like it was so overwhelming that I understand why it worked, right? And so anyway, it is what it is. And on that note, I'm told that I just ramble on sometimes. So, and if anyone wants to invite me on a podcast or anything like that, like I'm highly open to doing that as well. If you want to talk about any of this stuff, um, I would love to get on like the bigger shows, but there's still pushing this agenda too, right? So like I wonder too with people like with Russell Brand and Joe Rogan and Lex Fridman, like why are they putting on people? They're putting on great people as well in their shows, but why are they putting on people that are just pushing this lying agenda about like so many things that are clearly not true, and then just painting people as idols that are again misleading us, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye the Science Liar and all these other people that are funded by these people in order to keep duping us. And I highly encourage people to start breathing in and out of their noses. Think about it as if like you're like smelling something when you're breathing in and out of your noses, because like this is also why we've lost our ability to smell, is because we're not breathing in and out of our noses more, or taking the time to properly like utilize our other senses besides our eyes being glued to the freaking phones or TVs or laptops and stuff like that. Try to eat less processed foods. Try to eat more organic. It's really like yeah, I think that's a must. Filtering water, absolutely. And trying to read more books. Any books, just just to get your brain working more and the critical thinking, and then it's a distraction away from this stuff. Try to go for more walks. I go out in nature even when even when I have to force myself to, right? Because I got really depressed a lot as well, because again of life and the reality of it, and the fact that it just seems like things are still getting worse instead of better within Canada, and we have like such a major role to play within this plane in the next 2 decades. But anyway, and try to be of service to others in any way you can. If you have any like karmic ties that you have to rebuild, then this is also something that needs to be done as well. So even like honoring thy mother, thy father, and down the list, like work through those, and then work through your karmic ties and bonds, so that you can transcend this simulation. And I think on that note, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.